Hello, and welcome to the River Cruising Masterclass. I am so excited to be with someone who I do have to say has one of the most amazing names I've ever heard in my life. Her name is Sydney, spelled the right way. We couldn't find it, within our name tags when we were children, but we sure can find it now because everyone thought we were amazing. She is here with Riviera Cruises, and I'm so excited because this is one of those newer lines to North America, but not newer to the rest of the world. So I kind of wanted to just elevate it and see what's going on there and how we can just learn more about it.
Yeah, best name ever. I think it's really important to mention the whole fact that we both studied abroad at some point or visited Sydney, and we both had the same idea of buying shirts or wearing shirts that say I heart Sydney. That's like
Yeah.
very important because I don't get to say that with a lot of other people. So we'll get you an I heart Sydney shirt at the end of this podcast.
Yeah. That's going to be the prize for this episode.
Yes.
Comment. No, mine was I'm Sydney and Sydney, and I had it custom, like rhinestoned and bedazzled. I'll
You
send
need
a
to sell
picture
that
to
for
you.
money.
But yeah, so besides Australia, we're going to go to the other side of the world and go to Europe because that's the important place these days.
Yes. We love it.
So, as I say, let's talk about Riviera. Like, it's new to us, but not new to the world. Why don't you give us just a quick introduction to the brand?
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. Yes, to your point, it is new to North America, but we've been operating out of the UK for 41 years now. So we've actually been the leading river cruise line out of the UK. And it was really only within the last, like, say, 2 to 3 years that they really decided to do that expansion into North America, hiring, regional sales directors and representatives like myself to really start growing the brand because it is a really fabulous river cruise line. And we do sail all of the major rivers in Europe, and we do have a ship that's also coming out on the Mekong River, which Sydney, I know that we will talk about at a later date, but super excited, so I must mention it. And then I guess I'll let you ask more questions before I just literally do this entire podcast in 5 seconds.
We don't want to give everything
I
away. Come on
know, I
now.
know. But it's all so exciting.
It is. I was gonna say we just had a call with Sydney, and she has golden retrievers, but her energy is golden retriever like, and so
Yes.
it's just so exciting to be on the phone, and you were just like, "Let's do it," and so it got me
Mhm.
excited.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, who is Riverside for? Like, what do you think is that key person that is a
Mhm.
Riverside client? I mean, Riviera client. I'm sorry. I'm on the Riverside app, and that's what I keep
She
looking at.
is. Yeah.
Riviera. Yeah.
What did you just ask me? Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, who is the Riviera client?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. In general, river cruising tends to be about 55 plus, I would say, is like the average.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think river cruising is one of the best ways to see the world, and especially to see Europe, just because of how unique that experience is. Intentionally, every single day, I am trying to lower the demographic from 55 plus to 28 like myself, because I do think it's for everybody. A lot of
Yeah.
it comes from, being able to afford the vacation. And I do think that Riviera is priced extremely reasonably and has a ton of value. So for me, when I'm thinking about, booking my next European vacation, I want to tell everybody that I am friends with. I want to tell my family. And so it could be my grandparents, it could be my boyfriend and his family. So I really think it is for everyone. It really just depends on exactly the experience that you're looking for. I would say that also river cruising has, if you haven't already noticed, is booming. I mean, I think it's like 11%, up 11% every single year because people just keep going on river cruises, experiencing what I like to call the magic of river cruising. And so people just start sort of telling each other stories about it, which in general is also lowering the average demographic. I think it was like the average was 65 only like 6 years ago. So I think we're only going to continue seeing that decrease. And as more people just learn about what the Riviera or just river cruise experience is like, I think it's really just going to continue to be for everybody, except for young kids that are under the age of 13.
And if they want to go, they can go on a different line. Because
Yes.
everyone, I've been doing a series, and I didn't realize there's like over 16 river cruise companies, and so we've
Uh,
been going through them all because it's insane. But
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that I do think river cruising is for everyone. There
Mm-hmm.
is, but I had a friend who's, 28, I'm 34. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably helping bringing the age down
Yes,
myself
you
because
are,
I go all
girl.
the time.
Yes, you are. We
But
need you.
but I think it's a great way to travel. I kind of liken it to like when in the early 2000s cruising was always looked at more expensive because it was like that all-in price.
Mm-hmm.
And now I consider river cruising that because
Mm-hmm.
cruising now, especially the mainstream lines, is a lot more like nickel and diming. But when you
Mm-hmm.
go to river cruising, it sounds expensive on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but when you look at everything that you get included, it's
Mm-hmm.
so nice because you have the excursion. And with
Mm-hmm.
Riviera, you're getting free drinks from 10 a.m. to midnight every day, all the time. And that's included.
Yes, there, yeah, because that's a lot of that's a big aspect for consumers when it comes to deciding on which river cruise line to sail on. So I would say typically the river cruise customer knows exactly where they want to go, or they have an idea of where they want to go. They just then need to work with their travel advisor to decide on the right vessel or cruise line to get them there. A big thing that clients are always looking for is that level of all inclusivity. So there are the cruise lines that include, or they call themselves ultra inclusive, but they are nickel and diming still on the side a little bit. So what I do love about Riviera is we do include everything outside of gratuities. We do leave that up to the customer's discretion. But yes, Sydney, to your point, that includes all beverages, beer, wine, spirits, from 10 a.m. to midnight. And that is, if you're not super familiar with river cruising, a really big sort of selling point for us, in addition to some of the other things that we offer. Just because a lot of the times it's only, your drinks are only included around like happy hour, or, and I'm sure you can talk about those experiences, Sydney, and, just kind of what that looks like. But not having to take your wallet out again once you board Riviera is one of the things that we are very proud of, minus the gratuities, of course.
And that is because you guys are an English company, so it's not as big of
Mm-hmm.
a thing to tip as
Mm-hmm.
it is to do in the American
Correct.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, what is something that like Riviera does really well that maybe travelers wouldn't know about until they get on board? Like, what is something that like you hear back from clients after the fact being like, this was amazing and I didn't know about it
Mm-hmm.
until I got there?
Mm-hmm. Well, with people, the sticker price what they pay and the experience they actually do get on board. So sometimes people look at a price which is extremely reasonable and inclusive value, and they don't necessarily think they're going to have the best food. They don't know if they're going to have the prettiest cabins, and they are just shocked by how incredible the experience is. So from start to finish, when you're welcomed on board, to all your meal times, to the cruise director, I would say the cruise director and the food are two of the biggest things I hear people rave about. So, when I was younger, I used to want to be a cruise director. So, it is something that really matters to me. And when you're on a river cruise and you're in that sort of intimate setting, I really think that they make or break the voyage. And I've only heard just absolutely incredible things from clients who have experienced our cruise directors just being so helpful. I mean, they have a big task at hand. And
Yeah.
then with food on board, we have multiple specialty dining restaurants that have different menus that are all complimentary. So a lot of people really do have a lot of call outs about that. And then another really big thing that a lot of people don't necessarily know about Riviera is while on board, we have a 100% happiness guarantee. And so if you're on board and if for some absurd reason you are not having the best time of your life by the end of day two, Riviera will actually pay and arrange for you to fly all the way home and issue a completely full refund on your cruise. And I tell everybody this, and I know you literally just heard me say it like an hour ago, but that's because we, A, always put the guest first, and then B, in the 41 years we've been sailing, guess how many times we've sent someone home?
I know the answer, so I can't say.
Zero. Nobody wants to leave. They instead want, okay, well, can we do the reverse and like add on another cruise for free? Because that'd be fabulous. But
That's
I would
amazing
definitely
to
say
do.
that is something that, yeah, oh my gosh, I know. And then even just the environment and the atmosphere, we are trying to continue to, allow people to mingle more, to create some more activities on board, to have even better entertainment. I always say when I'm going on a river cruise, I'm not going for the ship, I'm going for the ports. However, I do think it's important to have a good mix of both. because you are going to be staying on, said vessel for, 8, 12, 14 days. I'll continue to say amazing things about Riviera, but I'll go ahead and let you ask another question before I ramble on like a golden retriever.
No, it's okay. I love it. Again, the poodle booked it. So,
Oh,
us dogs stick together. As I say, I want to circle back on the food because it's rare to have multiple restaurants and also to have them change menus. There's other cruise lines that have none. There are some that have like a chef's table. So, what does that look like on your typical cruise ship? So, you have your main dining room and then you have one or two other restaurants?
Yes. So cruise ships, which by the way, there are 12, there will be 15 by the end of next year, in a specialty dining restaurant. Just really widening or expanding the experience on board. Because if you think about it, you are spending every single meal in that main dining room. So even having that option to book another restaurant that has a different menu, it feels like it's almost trying to think of the best way to describe it, but I really think that sort of change of scenery while on board a small vessel really just makes it a little bit more elevated, especially when that experience is also included in your stay. However, it is still in high demand, so you do have to make reservations in order to actually dine in those places. And then they usually have a lot of really great waterfront views as well. So as you're sailing and you're having your lunch in one of those specialty restaurants, it's, I mean, for lack of a better word, pretty special. And then our newest ships do have two specialty dining restaurants because they are some of our largest ships at 178 passengers. So same thing, different menus, designed flawlessly. It's still incredible chefs, the same chefs, and just giving that sort of variety and options to choose from if you're not going to be eating in all of the ports.
And the specialty restaurants are open at lunch and dinner.
Yes.
That's unique.
Leonard, quiet. Sorry. That would be my golden retriever, Leonard.
I bribed mine beforehand, so you're good.
Yeah. I've got my little clicker that makes a beeping noise.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
Leonard's bad. He goes beep. I need one for my boyfriend.
If only it was that easy.
I know, right? I know, don't we all? We all.
Yeah.
You get
Okay,
it.
I do. Okay, and that's amazing. So then and I think this has kind of been touched on before, but inclusions are a big part of the conversation when it comes to distinguishing the lines because all of the river cruises besides like the like double wides, which are very limited, are the same size and they have to be because of the rivers. So what is it that you guys are, including or are optional and like, that like the value, I guess, proposition for that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So at the core, we really want to make the experience effortless and as high value as possible. We want people to walk away and be almost jaw dropped, awestruck, whatever it is, those that you want to call it, for the experience they just had or that they're getting for their price value. So for us, I already kind of touched on this, but we don't want people to have to take their wallets out again once they board. And that's something that's really important to us, and that's because we understand the river cruise customer and someone who's looking for an all-inclusive experience, paying X amount of money per person, investing in this vacation. They don't want to be told, okay, what do you mean I have to pay $10 for this drink because it's not 6 p.m.? And that is something that we do pride ourselves on, and just really having that sort of all-inclusive experience. For excursions, we do include always a minimum of 2 excursions, always the most popular ones at every single port, but it's only a minimum of 2, which means there typically can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that are included that you can choose from. There are optional excursions that you can add on. So if say you've been to Vienna a million times and there is an excursion that you really want to do, but it's not included in those ones that we already have included on the itinerary, you can pay extra in order to do a different one. I do just like to sort of clarify that all of the most popular ones are always included. So they end up always going with those. And then, I mean, there's a spa on board if you want to go and you want to get a massage. There's a hair and nail
That's
salon.
always
I
required.
know.
I
I
don't know. Anyways,
know. You want your blowout? Go get your blowout, girl. But those are also things that you can use your onboard credit for if you have one. And if you are booking a Riviera River cruise with Sydney, I can promise you she will give you some sort of onboard credit. If you've watched this podcast, call me to redeem. But
I love it. Call us
yes, of
Sydney,
course.
which is just me as a Sydney this
Yes.
time.
Oh, yes, exactly. Sydney and Sydney. Sydney squared. I grew up with a best friend named Sydney as well, so that one came
Did
out
you
just
really?
naturally. I did. But listen up, she spells it Sidnee.
Her
Who did
parents
that
straight
to
to
her?
jail.
So
Straight to
sad.
jail.
Sorry. Yeah, straight to jail. Oh, that's so funny. What was I saying? Talking about inclusion still?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I kind of sort of
No,
tied it up.
I was honed in though. I did not
Yeah.
realize you guys had multiple excursions in each port included. I thought it was
Yes.
just the one.
No.
Where has
My
this
goodness.
been?
I don't know. Did you not just hear me say it on my webinar, Sydney? Were you listening?
I was. I just want,
Yes.
the shock and awe needed to happen on the podcast.
It did. Oh my gosh. Yes, the shock and awe. But yes, 100%. And that is something where we do differentiate from some of our other, from some of our closest competitors. Maybe it is just one. Maybe it is, you have to pay for all of them, but we do include always two. And so that's something that we think is, very special. And again, one of those things you don't have to take your wallet out, once again in order to do so. But there's still that option if you wish. We also have just very spacious cabins. So on a river cruise ship, especially if you are on a lower deck or in a standard French balcony, which is just those beautiful French doors that open so that you can sail through and see all of the magic of the scenery passing around you. And so those cabins do tend to be a bit larger in terms of some of our competitors. And while you're not spending every waking hour in your cabin or in your suite, it is still something that people do tend to really enjoy, having just a little bit of that extra space. And also when it comes to inclusions, we include Wi-Fi. We like to say Wi-Fi that works because probably all of you are still working. I hope you're not. I hope you are disconnecting from work once you're on a river cruise, but we understand that sometimes that's not the case. And then on top of that, you have your complimentary robes and slippers, which for me is a huge deal. If there is not a complimentary robe, slippers I can do without, but there must be a robe. And then we also
But
have
don't pack it in your suitcase because it's only while you're there. Let's be real.
Literally. Yes, exactly. And yes, the other big one though being we have coffee and tea making machines in every cabin as well or suite, which, my perfect day, my perfect morning on
Okay.
a river cruise ship or an ocean cruise ship, or honestly, sometimes at a hotel is to, wake up, shower, put on my robe, and then make myself a cup of coffee and sit on my balcony. That is like my ideal morning, especially when I am traveling. And so when you're on a river cruise ship, being able to just have all of that the second you wake up. Also, the shower's fabulous in case anybody is a big shower person. Really big fan. But just having that and being able to tell people that that's the experience they can have. It's something I appreciate every time I travel. It's just those little added values that really do make the difference, especially just remembering the total price point of a Riviera River Cruise.
That's amazing. There are a lot of those inclusions that I wasn't expecting and you guys have. And it's, again, it's new to the US market, but not new to the world because you guys have tried and tested with over 40 years of experience. So can't go wrong. Okay, let me see. I was gonna say, I mean, we've gotten to the point where I'm just so curious. Well, you've talked about it with your like new routes or destinations that you guys are super excited about. You guys are getting 3 new cruise lines. I mean, cruise ships, and so that's exciting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So lots on the horizon. And I will say I know I've said one of my favorite things about Riviera, but that's because there's a million, is sort of how attentive we are to the guest. And so being at a cruise line, I'd say that working for Riviera while being in North America and being a part of that expansion is genuinely like working for a startup company where no idea is a bad idea and we can almost try as many as we want. So when it comes to North America, of course, there are some things that we can't do, but at the same time, I feel like that's something that we pay attention to. So one of those was demand for some sort of river cruise outside of Europe and also specifically in Asia. So we did recently announce the Riviera Alba, which will also be our first boutique ship as well, which means it'll only hold a total of 48 passengers. And it will be doing the Mekong River, sailing through Vietnam and Cambodia, a jam-packed, absolutely beautiful itinerary, bucket list friendly, 100%. It's high on my bucket list. I've been wanting to go to Asia for oh so long. So that is a ship we're extremely excited about. It's all suites. So some of our largest suites are, over 500 square feet. Very, very spacious. Beautiful. I think I've showed you a couple photos of them at some point, Sydney. But on top of that, we also are sort of doing other things to cater to the North American guest. So one thing that's really been selling a lot for us is what we call our grand tours. So our grand tours is a 7 day land trip followed by a 7 day river cruise, or 7 night, 7 night and 7 night. So we have four of them right now. I would say the grand tour of the heart of Italy, and then Portugal's Douro Valley is a really big one. And then the
Yeah.
grand tour of the Italian lakes, Swiss mountains, and then you connect with the Rhine. So these are all guided tours. So the land portion is fully guided, 4 star and above hotels. And then, of course, you do the 8 day river cruise on whether it's the Rhine or the Danube. It's really kind of up to you. We have a bunch of different options. But a big thing is that's actually only for the US guest. So the UK office actually cannot book any of their clients on a grand tour. So as we continue to sort of, increase sales or just increase awareness in the US, we are consistently trying to look at and making sure that we are balancing the US guests and the UK guests, catering to both because, of course, the UK has been sailing on Riviera for over 40 years. So we want to just make sure that we're paying attention to everybody's needs. But of course, if there's something that you think of that you hear from your clients, Sydney, or just that you think would be a great addition, I'm always open to hear, and I bother my president in our Fort Lauderdale office all the time about things that I would like to have. Just know that no question or no idea is stupid, and I will always go to bat if it's something that myself or someone I appreciate is passionate about.
That. And I'm going to say I'm super just excited about everything that I have learned. It's one of those things where it's the more information you have, the better equipped you are to have the best vacation. I know that's a new way of saying it, but that's the way I'm going to go with it.
I don't know if you were going to say it, so I'm going to say it anyways. But Sydney, do you have solo travelers by any chance?
I actually do. That's a great thing I meant to ask you about. I have a bunch of solo travelers. Women are taking over the world and we like to go alone.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Do. Yes, we are. Yes, we do. So on this topic of solo travelers, so we are the only cruise line that offers over 60 different solo only sailings. So that is one person per cabin. So the ship is sailing at half capacity. However, the crew is at full capacity. So it's like the crew to guest ratio is absolutely insane. And guess what? The kicker, there is no single supplement. You do not have to pay extra as a solo to sail in a double occupancy cabin. There is our solo rate that is nearly identical to our traditional sailing rates as well. So we're not just saying, oh, our solo travelers have no supplement, but you have to, the sticker price is $2,000 more. No, that is not the case. We genuinely have seen such an increase in demand for solo travel that's why we continue to offer it, and we'll only continue to add even more itineraries. So if you want to go by yourself on a festive markets cruise, you do it. You absolutely, by all means. So it's just a really great option that we've really added that, especially not every solo, like if someone wants to sail solo, they might be thinking, oh, I really wish I could, but they don't want to sail with a ton of couples. They don't want to sail, surrounded by people that are all traveling with a companion. And so being able to meet and just sort of mingle and get to know some other solos and not have to worry about any of that has really created something kind of special within the industry, in my opinion.
I was gonna say, not to like double down, but I think we should make it a like singles, not a solos. Like we should have a couple where it's like,
Yes.
age groups, and let's start dating on ships. Let's do Love on the River, and we'll make it a Love on the River instead of Love Island.
Oh my gosh, love it. Let's do it. Write it down. Put it in your brain.
I need you to talk to your CEO immediately.
Yeah. Oh, he'll listen. Trust me. We actually though too. Yes, there's a lot of singles, but at the same time, I have so many girls groups that they just want to leave the men behind and they don't want to share cabins. Like that's even more fun in my opinion. Leave them behind. So that's another way that we've seen it. But of course, there are a ton of different singles, solos out there, and oh gosh, the idea of I want to do it. Like I'm not a shy person, if you couldn't tell already, and so I love to make new friends, and I would really enjoy that. I think that we should definitely make something happen, and I'm gonna go too and invite myself.
It does. It fosters someone to actually be able to just, you don't have to feel awkward, and you can go up to be like something like, "Oh, we're all here alone, so let's all be friends."
Yes.
Like there's no
Yes.
reason. I will say that river cruising in general, as someone who has traveled solo, is they're so accepting and almost everyone is. You can feel like a third wheel. Like I
Hmm.
was adopted as a fifth wheel with like four sisters on a trip
Oh
once.
man.
But, having it where it's just all solos would be so fun just because, you're all in that same place and,
Hmm.
you're already in a place that fosters that sort of like immediate bonds. And so it'd be perfect.
And you're not paying extra. And you're in a
That's
double
a hundred
occupancy
percent.
cabin. You're in a big cabin. Like,
Yeah.
think of how much I could do so much with that space.
With a starfish in a bed.
Even if you're married and you just want like extra closet space or your husband snores, like you can also just book two solo cabins. That's an option as well. The possibilities are endless, really.
I'm in love with all of these ideas already. I'm so
Gosh,
glad we
same.
had this brainstorming session.
Yes, me too. I'm happy that some people might have actually listened too.
There's actually quite a few, and I'm very proud of all of them. I love them all so very much.
Yes. By the way, your travel advisor, Sydney, is fabulous.
Stop it, Sydney.
Oh my gosh. Did you not hear me? I love to give compliments, but only
I
if they're
do.
authentic.
I mean, yeah, that's why I said I had to invite Sydney because when I did the presentation, she just has such a contagious, attitude that I was like, I just fell in love with her, let alone Riviera.
It goes both ways, girl.
Okay, so just a quick thing, like what is something to close out that you want someone to remember about Riviera? Just like those, like a quick, that Instagram tag that we're going to use, right?
Well, the Instagram competition, but I've shared a lot about the brand. I think the last thing that I just really want to convey is how proud I am to be working for this brand. So it's not just, oh, we have great itineraries, we have great, cruise directors and staff. We have our Fort Lauderdale office who is genuinely so dedicated and on board to making this experience the best that it possibly can be for your North American guests and for our UK guests who are already sailing with us. So for me, it's been honestly like the biggest pleasure of my life to be sharing information and telling people about Riviera because out of the US, we kind of touched on it. A lot of people don't know about us, not because we're not established, but it's made my job so fun because as people start to learn about the brand, they start to fall in love as well. And so being sort of in at the beginning and sort of seeing and hearing the whispers, people starting to talk about it, groups sailing, coming back, the travel advisor community, all starting to share their experiences. It's one of the most exciting things, one of those rewarding things. And the fact that, I'm here and I'm able to share it and be on, podcasts with someone like as fabulous as you is another part of just what I love so much about Riviera. So outside of that, it's an incredible product and I'll continue to say that all day long. But I think it's important to also know, the actual company that you are working for and exactly what they care about most. And that is really the guest.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Sydney. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the River Cruising Masterclass. If you'd love to continue the conversation, you can reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook at Travel Advisor Sydney. I love it
Mhm.
when you guys all message me. It makes me feel so warm and fuzzy.
Oh, right.
I know I love being able to help all of you guys on your stuff. And
Mhm.
so with that, thank you so much and I can't wait for the next episode.
Absolutely. Just want to throw in a little sweetener. If you book with Sydney after listening to this podcast, specifically reference the podcast and say, I was guaranteed a $150 per person cruise discount. And we'll just like throw that in addition because you're putting yourself out there. Your clients are coming. They're listening to you. They're listening to you because they appreciate you and they want to learn from you and they know you're an expert. So to also have that sort of added benefit that I can provide for you, because ultimately you're the one sharing, the Riviera experience with your guests. So I definitely want to add a little sweetener if I can.
You can. I love it. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you, Sydney.
You too, Sydney.